A few times now we've discussed notable villains that have existed in Therenor's history. From the very first dragon, whose emergence blighted the world thousands of years ago, to the reign of the Hill Giant King, sowing chaos and destruction across the realm to this very day. In this video, however, we'll discuss somebody new, a small folk, whose culture and upbringing is deeply entwined with both giant and dragonkind, and whose unexpected rise to power during one of the realm's most turbulent periods of history challenges the resolve of their people and a millennia of time-tested traditions. Orefather Stergis Amberguard. Amberguard is a dwarf, which in Therenor we haven't really gotten to cover yet, so I feel like there wouldn't be a better time than ever to go over that. Therenor's dwarves are very similar to the dwarf you've come to know and love over countless fantasy medias. They have stout, stocky builds, broad and barrel-chested, with unnaturally thick arms and massive hands. And of course, beards. All dwarves, regardless of their sex or gender, come bearded. Their bodies are perfectly suited for the subterranean caverns and frosted mountains they most often call home, easily maintaining high levels of body heat and filtering out any hazardous particulates with their facial hair. Most of the realm's dwarves live underground, deep within the twisting subterranean caverns. Like many of Therenor's earlier nations, dwarves were much more comfortable out of sight, preferring to stay tucked away within their mountain homes, free from the worries of the surface world. However, as small folk have begun to expand into uncharted territory, that includes the dwarves, delving deeper than they ever have before, and even surfacing, feeling the warmth of the sun on their skin for the very first time. Dwarves come in all shades, though paler individuals are usually found underground, and those with tan or bronzish skin on the surface. Regardless of the tone of dwarf, they all held the same values and beliefs. For the dwarves of the realm, honor and tradition are the very glue which holds their massive kingdoms together. The individual is second to the clan that they represent. Their deeds are the clan's deeds, and each dwarf's feats are celebrated and shared amongst their kin. Most of every aspect of life was another opportunity to gain more clan honor. Dwarves physically and mentally would push themselves to the extremes, the dwarven workday ending when the body finally gives out. To rejuvenate themselves, they would drink ale and fermented juices, laced with toxic mycelium, to strengthen their body against poisons, venoms, or any number of hazardous spores or molds they may encounter in the wilds surrounding their caverns and wintry forests. Dwarves would place just as heavy of an emphasis on expanding the mind and perfecting their trades. Metallurgy and, for dwarves with a softer touch, jewelry making were common skills that dwarves would seclude themselves and spend months or years mastering. Other common dwarvish professions included blacksmithing, cooking, tanning, throwing, and tailoring. Dwarves also did their fair share of animal husbandry. Goats, rams, and sheep were very common livestock animals among surface dwarves. Some would even take their talents to raise wild predatory animals, like wolves, bears, and raptorial birds. Below ground, any manner of reptile, insect, or amphibian you could strap a saddle to would eventually find itself within the arms of a dwarf, all too eager to be the first of their kind to tame such an animal. Each impressive feat, test of strength, or mastery of a skill would bring further honor to the clan's name, the most impressive of which are chiseled into the towering walls of their clan keep. Each feat can be traced back to a segment of something called the Plat Vein, a sprawling mass of knotted, braided hair from the beards of each dwarf. The Plat Vein reads much like a family tree. One dwarf is connected to their mother and father, who's connected to their mothers and fathers. The very start of the Plat Vein, a braided lock from the beard of the founding dwarf. Dwarves can live to be upwards of 350 years. But due to their extreme nature, most dwarves' bodies fail them before their 250th birthday. Such an extreme competitive culture could feel tiring for the average small folk, but for a dwarf, pushing boundaries was a way of life. Despite the two very different worlds dwarves lived, whether they're above or below, the absolute most honorable thing you can do is heed the call of the Orefather. In Dwarven society, the Orefather or Oremother is the highest position of authority, and the title is held by some of the most renowned dwarf clans from across the realm, their names cemented in history in ages long past. Many of their feats border on the side of mythical. The Timberbelts entered dwarven nobility through the feats of Oremother Morgana, said to be strong enough to juggle hill giants. The ancient dwarves were ushered into an era of peace by Orefather Stergis Amberguard, who single-handedly convinced a horde of cave goblins 100 strong to pledge their fealty to the dwarves. Orefather Gureg of the Steel Heels was supposedly struck with lightning so many times, his beard perpetually stood on end, the ends of which would spark when angered. His fighting spirit and battle prowess cemented his clan in dwarven history. And of course, for a few generations, Clan Liquor Barrel made their debut with Orefather Zeg, whose claim to fame was self-explanatory. The descendants of these clans and more occupy the bulk of dwarven nobility, occasionally making their way back onto the throne in Dolgrid, the ancient city of the dwarven people. Its weathered halls span for miles beneath the realm, stretching forever outwards in grid-like patterns, burrowing through rock and stone without prejudice. Bioluminescent fungi and glowing lichen are planted among each historic column, illuminating the darkness with the eerie radiance of the seated Orefather's clan colors. To be of service to such honorable clans is one of the most honorable things one can do, and so Therenor's dwarves eagerly await the call of their ruler. The chiseled halls of Dolgrid have glowed a ghostly teal for nearly 3,000 years, through the reign of 16 Orefathers and Oremothers from Clan Palehorn. The Palehorns have spent most of their rule building upon Dolgrid, and dwarves are routinely summoned from across the realm to lend their hand in the construction of their great kingdom. The city's expansion halts for nothing, systematically boring through the primordial earth. Grand bridges span the gaping chasms of Therenor's subsurface world, stretching beyond the wildest of rapids and tunneling into whatever lies in its path. The last few hundred years were under the rule of Orefather Joffred Palehorn, 15th of his clan, whose iron reign led the dwarves through an economic boom fueled by bloodshed. Many dwarves have succumbed to the Palehorn call, their lives expended to further the Orefather's reach. Equally loved and abhorred by all, even the Palehorn line must eventually come to an end. And that brings us to the present day. Orefather Stergis Amberguard is an older, rather eccentric dwarf with a strange, enigmatic history. Amerguard is the first of his clan to be seated upon the throne, as well as the first of his clan, period. The true origin of the Orefather's family history is practically non-existent, a fact which has nearly torn the dwarven people in two. One half believes Amerguard to be a usurper king, a backstabbing, treasonous worm who slithered his way to nobility before dispatching the true ruler. Other dwarves, as shocked as they may be, recognize the power and the tradition of the dwarvish throne and choose to follow the whims of their Orefather faithfully, as they have for so many millennia. With the rise of the Hill Giant King, the people of Dolgrid are reaching a tipping point, one which could result in the bloodiest civil war in the realm's history. Amerguard has made attempts to be transparent with his people, and there are some aspects of the king's early life he has shared in hopes of quelling the masses. Amerguard claims to have been born in Dolgrid, early into the reign of Orefather Joffred, the 15th of Clan Palehorn, though he did not live in the city for long. Stergis's parents were supposedly two among a group of settler clans, tasked with venturing topside into the realm's wilds and extending Dolgrid's influence above ground. By the age of 4, it was clear this new surface settlement had failed to take root. Out of food and clean drink, the youngest were told to shelter while those who remained could hunt. They, of course, would succumb to the wilds, a fate Amerguard too would have experienced, if his cries were not overheard by the mountain's guardian, a stone giant named Va. Amerguard spent his early years on the surface, learning the ways of the spirits, the realm's endless natural beauties, and the resilience of nature. Va had done their best to raise Stergis by the standards of his kin, though the young dwarf would object at every turn, appalled by their practices. In truth, Stergis wished to become a summiteer, a coalition of dwarves formed in recent years who opposed the will of the Orefather in the interests of nature. Va would eventually convince Stergis to return to Dolgrid and instill the change he wished to see within his people from inside. He would adopt the clan name Amerguard, a nod to the wilds in which he grew up in. Stergis would finally return to Dolgrid around his 80th birthday, establishing himself as a baker and supplying the city and its people with food. At first, he was reluctant to entrench himself in dwarf culture, and chose to spend as much time as possible in the wilds, secretly supplying passing summiteers with both food and drink. It was here Stergis made his first attempts to establish rapport within the city. He chose to hand-deliver baked goods daily to the Orefather and other nobles within Dolgrid. Though the first few years' worth of goods were routinely rejected, his perseverance would eventually pay off. Stergis would find comfort in this quiet life he managed to make for himself, focusing on mastering the profession of baking and discreetly aiding summiteers topside. Orefather Joffred, at this time, still reigned, and he would use his will not just to expand Dolgrid, but to seize and conquer the realms surrounding it. Stergis would begrudgingly heed his calls, occasionally being conscripted to shed blood in the Orefather's name. Around 180 years, and by the time Orefather Joffred was 300, he would finally produce an heir, Omri, 16th of Clan Palehorn. Stergis would establish a friendly rapport with the child, observing his growth over the years as he delivered bread and baked goods to Palehorn Keep. It's around this time Stergis began to concern himself more with dwarven culture and customs. By Omri's 60th birthday, preparations began for him to become king. Though his voice was one of dozens, Stergis tried to provide the young heir with earnest advice, who saw the aging baker as both a close friend and a wizened parental figure. By the time Stergis was 290, Orefather Joffred would die of natural causes. It was Omri's turn to sit atop the throne as Orefather. Full of life and hope, the young king was empathetic and noble of heart, much unlike his predecessor. The new Orefather requested Stergis to join him as one of his advisors, to which Amerguard declined, content with the change from within he's made through the 16th Palehorn. A few years later, a devastating plague would sweep across Therenor, drastically reducing grain output. Orefather Omri would once again ask Stergis to join him as an advisor. Stergis would accept, beginning his foray into politics at the young age of 292. For the next 10 years, Stergis would manage Dolgrid's dwindling resources, attempting to stretch what little remained to feed the entire nation for a decade. When the crop plague subsided, Orefather Omri Palehorn would officially offer Stergis position of chief advisor, the second in command, a controversial move which Stergis would accept. But tragically, the following year, Omri would die. Orefather Stergis Amberguard would then take the throne, a ceremony which nearly split the Dwarven realm in half. The next few years were spent devoted to holding the Dwarven people together, while simultaneously making efforts to slow Dwarven expansion in a time where the rest of Smallfolkkind was growing. Amerguard refused to publicly rebuke the Summiteers, and resent among his people continued to grow, many of which considered the Orefather himself to be treasonous to Dwarvenkind. Stergis became the target of numerous failed assassination attempts, which only helped to further polarize the Dwarven people. By his 311th birthday, Brohk would awaken, amassing a herd of hill giants sizes never before seen. Slaughtered like cattle, surface dwarves would seek aid from their subterranean kin, who were focused solely on conserving resources and monitoring Brohk's warpaths across Therenor, and preemptively slaying any dragons which arise in the hill giants' wake. The cumulative stressors on the Dwarven people have pushed them to the brink of civil war, one which has the potential to be the bloodiest internal conflict in recorded history. In present-day Therenor, Stergis continues to barely hold the Dwarven people together. The Orefathers sent a group of adventurers north to investigate the uncovered town of Progarum, rumored to hold relics which could verify his royal lineage and unite the nation in a time where they so desperately need to be. If you're interested in running that story, you should check out Chasm of Progarum, a level 7 dungeon we've put together set in the realm of Therenor. Stergis as a character is complicated. A man who so desperately disagrees with the customs of his people, now set to lord over them. His new kingdom is fragile and splintering, and though there's much he would like to change, he recognizes there's millennia of tradition against him, and his people are in a time where that one final push may be the breaking point. Much of Dolgrid still glows that eerie pale-horn teal, both in remembrance and recognition of Omri Palehorn as the true and rightful Orefather. If Stergis knows of how Omri died, he has not yet shared it, though even that, I'm sure, would not quell his people's anger. Brohk the Hill Giant King has recognized the weakness of the Dwarves, fragmented by both his sinister acts and the perceived meekness and foolishness of a king most of his subjects don't even trust. Brohk would make his attempt to march upon Dolgrid. Like you've seen in the Animatic, Stergis would decide to meet him halfway, leaving the safety of the Dwarven Keep and entering the yawning maw of Soltauger. The full Animatic will be posted later on, though we wanted to show you this first part to kind of get people excited for it. We spent so much time building up Therenor to be this living, breathing world and creating these unique, interesting characters. We really wanted to explore the opportunity of being able to have them interact with each other. Hopefully we get to do more animatics like this in the future. It's been super fun to learn how to do FX through Reaper, and Lee's thumbnailing really brings such a scene to life. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please give us a follow and keep an eye out for when we post the full animatic. If you'd like to talk more about the world of Therenor, you could join us over in our Discord, or check out our free Patreon, where you're able to see some of the stuff we're working on behind the scenes early. I also want to shout out Artfight real quick. If you're doing Artfight this year, we're over there. I'm making sets of dice, and Lee's looking to attack people, especially if they happen to have made a character using one of our custom races. Thank you again for watching. I've been Crazy K, and have a wonderful rest of your day.